Good afternoon, fellow educators, and welcome to this week's edition of the Learning Services Lunchtime Hot Topics. We've got some good updates for you today. And first of all, I want to welcome everybody back to another school year. We've had some good KSDE trainings around the state, some regional trainings. I hope you've been able to plug into those. If not, there are a few more scheduled. And again, if you at any time you have questions on those, please feel free to reach out. On the agenda this morning, Scott Meyers is going to give some updates on the new KSDE model, more specifically as we've been out and as people have questions. He's been putting together a frequently asked questions sheet, and he's going to be covering some of those questions that have been asked. Also, this afternoon in this session, Tammy Mitchell will be given an update on the work going on this year around kindergarten readiness and the screener, and we're kind of excited about all the school districts that have been participating in that. And as well, to kind of end things out, Jessica Noble is going to give an update on the Dropout graduation summary and some of the work around graduation. So I'd like to remind everybody at any time during this session, if you have any questions, there is an email that we have for this where you can submit your questions, as well as any future topics that you'd like us to address. You can do that at lunchtime@ksde.org. I also want to remind everybody that coming up in October, the 24th and 25th, is the Kansans Can, our annual conference. We normally have close to 1,000 people attend, not only superintendents, testing coordinators, curriculum directors, school administrators. We typically have 250 to 300 teachers, so bring a team. We will have Randy and Blake Flanders, who's the president CEO of the Kansas Board of Regents, is going to do an opening kickoff session. We also have Brandon Bustede, who works with the Gallup Corporation, will be sharing at the opening keynote, really talking about what's going on nationally that the Gallup organization sees, and how the work in the state board's vision has helped leading us in Kansas to what he sees nationally. We have invited some legislators, some business and industry to participate in that morning. There will be some great sessions from school districts during that conference, and then we're going to conclude it with Mitch Holtis, the voice of the Chiefs. He'll be closing out the conference there on Wednesday. So you can go to our website to register for the annual conference. It's going to be a great few days. Of course, the Monday of the conference is the pre-conference, which will be geared mostly around assessment. So we hope to see you there. And finally, you know, everything that we're trying to do is aligned with what over 2,000 Kansans told us was important at a state level. It was clear that we were out of balance with what Kansans said they wanted. There's a lot of initiatives going on to help some at the state level, a lot of them locally, for us to try and reach our goal to where we can and will lead the world in the success of each student. So it's up to you, Scott. Thanks.
Hello, Kansas. This is Scott Meyers. I'm here to provide you with the latest hot topics update around accreditation. We've been out on the path, spreading the gospel about the rollout of accreditation, the KSDE system, And so we've had enough feedback at this point that we're receiving a variety of frequently asked questions. So we thought it'd be a good idea to provide another opportunity for you to hear some of the answers that have questions and answers that have popped up from the field. So we'll just go ahead and get going on this. The first question for you is, what is the purpose of the outside validation team? And rather than just reading this to you, I'll leave it up there for a second for you to read it yourself, and then I'll just add to it. Basically, it boils down to it's a third party to come along and help you with your efforts to just give you another lens, if you will, on the works that are taking place. And then also, for us at the State Department, it's the OVT that ultimately will make the recommendation to our Accreditation Review Committee, who then in turn will make a recommendation, the formal recommendation to the state board on accreditation status of a school system. So the OVT is that critical coach, and then also is the liaison and bridge to the State Department. And much more information will be coming out throughout the year on who the OVT is and how they will function. Question number 2. Is Kansas Star required for accreditation? A little bit of a longer answer. I will go ahead and read this one. No. It is a KSDE provided option that may be used for recording accreditation evidence and artifacts. However, Title I school-wides are required to record evidence of school improvement in Kansas Star, and there is an expectation that districts working with KLN will also be using Kansas Star to monitor and provide feedback to their KLN schools and house their district action plan for supporting KLN schools. As with all the information wrapped around accreditation, more information regarding Kansas Star and the use of it will be coming out throughout this 0 year once again. And as is the case with all our work, we're looking to help streamline ways of going about working with accreditation, basically with all the work within the State Department. And Kansas Star is it is a powerful tool that can really help along those efforts. Next question. I want to use Advanced Ed. I was told that I could use Advanced Ed for accreditation. However, it was not approved by the state board. All right, there's a variety of facets to this question and to this answer. We do anticipate that Advanced Ed will be approved as an OVT, as an outside validation team, not as its own accrediting system. In the state of Kansas, only the State Board of Education accredits systems for state accreditation. That said, there are many systems who utilize the good works of Advanced Ed and to seek that form of accreditation as well, in addition, not in lieu of. And so while it has not been formally approved yet, we expect that once the guidelines are put in place for outside validation teams, Advanced Ed will submit, and then at some point in time a decision will be made whether they would be able to serve as an OVT, which I fully anticipate that they will. Important piece here is it is safe to assume your relationship with Advanced Ed will not change because of any KSDE decision, but it's even more important to internalize the idea that it's only the State Board of Education of Kansas that formally awards accreditation to school systems in the state of Kansas for state accreditation issues. As you have questions with this, because there's some nuance to that, feel free to give us a call and we'll talk you through it. Question number 3, I think it is. Who is going to be on these OVTs? It's the outside validation team, if you recall. And how much is that going to cost us? We are highly cognizant of the fact that it's a pretty good sized state. We have near on 400 school systems who will be utilizing the services of OVTs. So we are working in concert with other educational entities and groups to help create the sheer volume of OVTs that will be available. And so we are working on options that will be both feasible and affordable. On following September 16th, we'll have more information on that because there's a work group dealing with this as we speak. We do believe the OVT needs to be regionally based. At the same time, there needs to be enough arm's length relationship that we don't have conflicts of interest. And so we'll need to make sure as we shore up the OVT approach that we're lending a watchful eye to both those aspects, the regionality of it and also the fact that there's no conflict of interest. Next question. Are the KISA training events required for district staff to attend? No, they're not. We're doing a variety. We're going to go out 4 different times across the state of Kansas this year for each quarter. We're paring down the facets of the KISA system here through the 0 year. Remember, the idea is for people to become acclimated and become aware of the system. I think it'd be kind of silly not to go to the trainings. If I were still sitting in the chair, I'd be going to the trainings. But the question is it required? The answer is no. No, it's not. I would strongly urge you to be there, though. How many R's do we have to pick for KISA? The idea is the systems are expected to focus their efforts on 2 goal areas for KISA. And there'll be a lot more information coming out through the year around this concept. This is specifically referring to the 4 R's. There are 5 R's total, the 5th being results. So this is the rigor, relevance, relationships, and responsive culture is when it's talking about the focus of the R's. So they're expected to focus on 2 goal areas. When will KSDE let us know which group we will be in? Or otherwise, what year we will be when the process begins? We will not be assigning individual systems to any one group, to group 1, group 2, group 3. That determination will be made locally. How that will come about is during the year 1, all systems should be going through a needs assessment. Now, if you've already been doing this work, basically you just have to reaffirm that your needs assessment has been completed. And it's from that that there will be a process to where a system will say, we think we are ready to be in group 3, or we think we should be in group 1. There's no incentive to be in group 1 or group 5. It all pays the same here. In fact, we really need the districts to be, or the systems to be kind of spread out between the 5 years. It'd be perfect, if you all want to make us really happy up here, to have 20% of the systems in each one of the years. So 20% in year 1, 20% in year 2, and so on. I'm sure that won't work out that way, but that'd be in a perfect world. So we won't be assigning where a given system is, but we will definitely be thought partners with you. So when you go through and do your needs assessments, and it kind of looks like you think you should be in year 2, give us a holler, and we'd be glad to walk you through it and say, well, why do you think that? And ultimately, you would say, well, because of these reasons, and then you'll make a decision. It's not necessary to call us to check. Not necessary at all. We're just offering that service. When will we know about the results part of KISA? I know, obviously, people, particularly since we've been tied to AYP for so long, that whenever the topic, the conversation about results comes or enters the fray, the air kind of gets sucked out of the room. One of the beautiful things of the change from QPA to KISA is it's not just about the results. The results are important. They're imperative, but it's not just about the results. It's half of the system. So work groups are addressing what the various results areas are. They will be coming from the outcomes, the state board outcomes, and from the helping students become moving forward in post-secondary life, the old R results area of the original framework that deals with academic, cognitive, employability, technology, post-secondary, and civic engagement. So there will be a mixing and matching of all those different results that will play into the results aspect of the KISA system. So be paying attention for more information to come. It's a good question that I'd be asking if I were sitting in your chair. When does KISA officially begin? We are currently in the 0 year, as I mentioned before. So officially, the system will launch July 1 of 2017. So that's next summer. There's a whole bevy of activity taking place between now and then, along with all the trainings. We're also in the midst of working on the regulations that will make it a total reality. The board's voted on it, and then we have to have the regs in place, and those are in process. So if everything goes the way it's supposed to, goes according to Hoyle, the official launch will be year 1, July 1 of 2017. All right, those are thus far our frequently asked questions. Feel free to avail yourself of these information however you would like. And then also, as you have other questions gnawing at your brain, do not hesitate to give us a holler. Give me a call, and we'll give you a direct answer as best we can. But then we also will want to share with the field, because I've said many times, we all are former educators. We all came from the classroom or the building level or the district level, but we're not there anymore. And so our lens is now from the State Department. So it truly is imperative that we hear what the people who are in the hallways, what you're hearing and thinking, and how this seems to fit for you. So as you have questions, comments, concerns, feel perfectly free to give me a call. I look forward to talking to you. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, good morning. I'm Jessica Noble, Assistant Director for Teacher Licensure and Accreditation. Many of you are familiar with the sound of my voice. You've heard it for the last 6 years as we've talked about the Dropout Graduation Summary Report. This year, you will get to hear a new voice as we get later into October. We have a new education program consultant, Brandon Johnson, who will be responsible for graduation, charter, virtual, and alternative schooling. So as you have questions, you will reach out to Brandon and he'll be able to get those answers for you. So let's talk a little bit about the Dropout Graduation Summary Report. This is really your opportunity to certify that your graduation and dropout data is correct before you submit it to KSDE. It's actually your only opportunity. So not only is it a great opportunity, it's your only opportunity to do this before we decide to use it in annual measurable objective calculations and other publications like your building report card, the K-12 report. So if you do not take this opportunity while the report is open in October to review and to make corrections to your graduation and dropout data, we will assume that it's correct and go ahead and use it, and you might be upset later. So in the Dropout Graduation Summary Report, you are going to be looking at and signing off on 3 pieces of data: your post-graduation plans, your unresolved exits and dropouts, and your 4- and 5-year graduation cohorts. Both the high school and the district need to review and certify this data. If you have a building that is only grades K through 8, you should also get into the DGSR and review your unresolved exits and dropouts data. For those students who are unresolved exits in grades K through 6, there won't be any consequence for their exit remaining unresolved. However, it's always a good data quality practice to get those exits as clean as possible. If you have students in grades 7 or 8 who have unresolved exits and you don't clean those exits up, then they will automatically roll over and become part of your dropout count, which will affect your school as well as your district rates. So the submission window for the DGSR is going to open on Monday, October 3rd. We'll close it at the end of the month, which also happens to be a Monday, October 31st. That is your opportunity. So between October 3rd and October 31st is your opportunity to look at the data, make corrections to the data, and to submit your report. If you don't review your data and submit the report by October 31st, we will consider your data to be accurate. We'll go ahead and click that submit button for you, and we're going to start publicly reporting that data. I can tell you that in the last 6 years, every single year, there has been at least one district who made some sort of egregious error and didn't correct it. And those span all the way up to not sending their graduate exit records at all and being publicly reported with a 0% graduation rate. So this is a big deal and something you should take seriously. The DGSR is an authenticated application. So if you go into your authenticated applications, you should see one that says Dropout Graduation Summary Report. Although at this time it will be grayed out and it will say that the application is not currently available. And that's because it doesn't open until October 3rd. If you look in your list of authenticated applications and you don't have this one listed, now is the perfect time to register. Don't wait until October, because we all know it takes a few days to get that registered, and you don't want to waste any time in October. So go ahead and do that now. In the Kansas Graduation and Dropout Information Handbook, which is on the graduation webpage, which I'll tell you how to get to here in a minute, you will find detailed instructions of how to register and to get access and which access levels you should request. Okay, so a few tips for success. First of all, don't wait to review the data. If you haven't even opened the Dropout Graduation Summary Report and it's the last week of October, you're going to be scrambling at that point to make your corrections. So open it right away in the first week and at least just pull your list of non-graduates and dropouts so that you know which students to start focusing on. Don't keep that list to yourself. Obviously, you don't want to publicly post it anywhere because it's confidential information, but you should share it with whoever is responsible for maintaining the records for your students after they leave. In some cases, this is a secretary, it's a registrar, a counselor. Certainly, you want to include the directors of your special program. So if you have students with disabilities, migrant, homeless, you'll want to include those individuals because they may have information about where the student went or an exit code that might be more appropriate for that student. Your kids' data coordinators obviously need to be kept into the loop because they are the ones that will send the exit records to make the corrections to your data. And the last tip for success is to participate in the new and returning user webinars. So we have those scheduled. If this is your first time, you have never even heard the words Dropout Graduation Summary Report before, you should make plans to participate in the new user training. If you have been in the Dropout Graduation Summary Report in the past, but you need a refresher, or you think that maybe there are some strategies you're not implementing that would help you to find more of your students, you should participate in the returning user training. There are archives of the trainings that I did last year already out on the graduation webpage. So if you're somebody that you either are not available those days or you don't want to wait till October to have your training, you can go ahead and listen to those archive webinars. I will say that we will record these trainings as well, so you can certainly listen to them after the 4th and the 5th. And every year there are different questions, so especially in the returning users where you have people with experience with the application, the questions might differ from year to year, so it could be of benefit to you. This would also be a great training to have other key staff in your schools and your districts to participate in, so those staff that I just talked about on the last page. The last thing that I'll say about this is every year I always get, a really seasoned DGSR veteran who's in the newer returning user training. And I got to tell you, it's really at a level that you've probably exceeded if you've been doing the application for, more than 3 years. So save your time and just trust your gut and go with what you know. So here is the contact information. Like I mentioned, Brandon will be the main point of contact moving forward, although we will be working together as we tackle this first October season. But as you have questions or you're getting into the application, you have trouble, you can certainly reach out to Brandon. Here is the link to our graduation webpage. I'm sure that all of you will be able to memorize this while it's on the screen here, but if not, you can go to the KSDE.org homepage, click on the letter G from the subject index that's at the top of the page, and click on graduation, and you'll be right there as well. You'll find that Kansas Graduation and Dropout Information Handbook, which is super helpful. You'll find the DGSR user manual, although I don't believe we've posted the new one for this year, but the one from last year is still full of good information that hasn't changed. You'll find those archived webinar recordings, and you'll find some PowerPoints that we've done as well. So I hope this has been helpful to you, and don't ignore October. Thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is Tammy Mitchell here at the Kansas State Department of Education, and I am going to talk to you a little bit today about kindergarten readiness in Kansas, hopefully to dispel a few myths and just update you on our work to date. For those of you that have not had a chance to view this video, I'm not going to play it for you now, but it is a quick 3-minute YouTube video by Dr. Watson, and it's a really good summary of where our direction is from our State Board of Education regarding kindergarten readiness. The fast way to find this video on the KSDE website is to go to the home page and then go to the commissioners page, and it is, if you scroll down on the commissioners page, all of the videos on the board outcomes are available there for your perusal. So when the State Board of Education made kindergarten readiness one of the hot board outcomes, we pulled together a kindergarten readiness work group because we were charged with piloting a screening instrument this fall. We had a very short turnaround time, and we pulled together this group across state agencies, across school districts, across KSDE to have some really deep conversations about what makes up kindergarten readiness and what should be included in a kindergarten readiness screener. You can see that we have people from the Children's Cabinet and Trust Fund, from Kansas City Public Schools, from Canton Galva Elementary School, MTSS, KSDE, Head Start, Part C, the work that this group put in at the beginning has been tremendous. They met for a half a day, twice a month, to get us to where we are now with piloting a kindergarten readiness screener. So as we're talking about Kansas' current landscape and getting children ready for kindergarten, the biggest question is, where are the 4-year-olds? So, every year we have a certain small amount of slots in early childhood programs, but every year we have around 37,000 little people that come to kindergarten. And so as we're talking about kindergarten readiness, one of the big questions is, where are the 4-year-olds and what kind of programming is available across communities, across cities, and across our state? So we know that 4-year-olds can be in Kansas preschool programs, state pre-K, Kansas Parents as Teachers, Head Start programs, child development centers, faith-based preschools, early childhood special education programs, child care providers, and at home, and any combination there included thereof. So when this work group came together in this spring, we were really concerned with finding out what our district's currently using regarding kindergarten screening or kindergarten entry, what were other states using, do we want to build our own screener, and what information do we want to collect. And so as we surveyed a handful of districts, we found that there was no consistency whatsoever regarding, we thought that if there was a majority of screening opportunities that districts were using that we could use statewide, we would go with that. But there was just really no consistency whatsoever. And what we found too were many districts were very much, we don't do anything, so if you could provide something for us, that would be fantastic. We looked at what other states were using and found that some states have very, very comprehensive kindergarten entry assessments. We looked at what those assessments entailed, including the time commitment, the cost, the alignment or misalignment with our current standards, and just the capacity to be able to roll something like that out. And so we decided that what we did not want was a kindergarten entry assessment. That sounds an awful lot like a state assessment for little people, and we really did not want to go down that road. Do we want to build our own? We talked about that briefly. We decided that what we really want for Kansas is to have something valid and reliable, and building our own in this time frame would not yield a top quality screening tool. And so we also talked about what information do we want to collect, because we know that some districts use universal screeners. They look at early literacy skills, they may look at early math skills, but we decided as a work group with input from kindergarten teachers that we wanted to be more comprehensive in the information we want to collect. So our key ideas from our work group are measuring kindergarten readiness provides a snapshot of where children are upon kindergarten entry. So when we're talking about a kindergarten readiness screener, we're talking about what data can we pull when kids come to kindergarten. So it's not necessarily what they can do in the spring at kindergarten roundup or what they can do throughout the first semester, but where are they in the first, right before school or within the first 2 to 3 weeks of school. We wanted kindergarten readiness to include communication, language and literacy, problem solving, motor and social emotional areas of development. And we want caregivers and family members to be engaged in gathering information about their child's development and early childhood experiences prior to kindergarten. We want to make sure everyone understands that when we talk about a kindergarten readiness screener, sometimes the word screener can give the mental picture of like a window screen or a door screen, something that's meant to allow something in and keep something out. And that is not at all what we're talking about when we talk about a kindergarten readiness screener. A screener is like a hinge. It would swing forward to help inform classroom practices for kindergarten teachers, but it would also swing backward and give information regarding prior learning experiences before kindergarten. We hope that by collecting statewide kindergarten readiness data, it can help districts to be informed about their communities and the capacity for early childhood opportunities. A kindergarten readiness screener is not a gatekeeper to screen 5-year-olds out of kindergarten. We really want to reiterate this because we are not looking at a pass-fail test where if they pass, they go to kindergarten, and if they don't, they wait a year. That is absolutely the opposite of what this means. It means that all 5-year-olds have a right to go to kindergarten if they're 5 by the cutoff date, and a screener can provide valuable information to schools and teachers about the kids that are arriving at kindergarten. So a screener is not a test. A screening tool looks at developmental milestones. It provides a snapshot. It's brief to administer and is largely observational in nature. An assessment or test looks at skills required, is more comprehensive, it can be lengthy to administer, and it requires individual testing. One of the things that was very important to us is that this be largely observational in nature, not requiring kindergarten teachers to pull kids aside and do a lot of testing in those early weeks of school, because we know that there is a lot going on in those first few weeks of kindergarten, and being able to pull a child to the side while the others play nicely in centers is probably not very doable, at least in those first 2 to 3 weeks of school. So this is what we're piloting, the Ages and Stages questionnaires. And this is just a screenshot, but you're welcome to Google and go to the Ages and Stages questionnaires website. There is a ton of information about the validity and reliability of this tool. There's 20 years of research behind it. It's used, there are forms of this assessment or this screener from birth through age 6. So this is what we're piloting, this Ages and Stages questionnaire. This is ASQ3, it's the 3rd edition, and the areas screened in this particular one are communication, gross motor, fine motor, problem solving, and personal social. So this is one piece of it. We are also using the Ages and Stages Questionnaire 2 for social emotional. So there's actually 2 bits of it. This one is more the cognitive. The other one really goes into social emotional development. These are developmental screeners, meaning they're based on the child's age. They're not necessarily connected to curriculum. So it would be a really good measure for any child coming to kindergarten, regardless of what kind of curriculum experiences they had had up to that point. We also have a unique opportunity with the Ages and Stages 3 in that the state of Kansas is working with the University of Oregon to pilot a form that goes through age 6. So the previously published versions go through age 60 months. They talk about it in months, which is through 5.5. But the form for 6-year-olds that goes a little bit older is still in pilot phase. And so we have a great opportunity to provide feedback to the University of Oregon regarding items, regarding administration. So we're very excited about that partnership. So again, the considerations for Ages and Stages, it's used during regular home or classroom activities. It's based on families and teachers' observations of children's skills. It addresses communication, motor, problem solving, personal and social emotional skills, and it does align with tools already used in early childhood settings. In fact, many early childhood programs use Ages and Stages questionnaires in the younger versions. Here are the districts that have jumped in with us for our pilot for this fall. Some of these districts are piloting in all of their elementary schools. Some are piloting in 1 or 2 elementary schools. But you can see that we have a really nice range of sizes of district, sizes of schools. We've got urban schools, we've got rural schools. And so we're really excited about the kind of feedback that we'll be able to gather from our participants this fall. So here's the tentative timeline. I built this timeline in June and we're right on target. So in June, the fall participants were determined. In August, our trainer of trainers received official training on the Ages and Stages questionnaires. In September, every kindergarten teacher involved in the pilot is participating in training by the training team, and we are right on target for that. September through December, I want to explain this data point. The ASQ3 and the ASQ Social Emotional 2 will be piloted in various districts and schools across Kansas. What we're doing for the pilot only is we're giving these pilot sites through the end of December to use the tools, to use the online features, to work with parents and families. We're giving them the cushion of extra time because 1, it is brand new and there are a lot of new pieces to it, and 2, because of the rapid time frame of getting a screening tool out to schools, we weren't able to do any kind of training before school started. Ideally, we could have trained teachers in June so that they would be ready in August, but as you can tell from our timeline, we just weren't able to have that kind of time. So while we will not be collecting kindergarten entry data through this pilot, we will be experimenting with the tools, experimenting with the administration, and trying out the online features and data collection. Then this winter, the pilot cohort will provide feedback to KSDE to help inform planning of a statewide rollout of a kindergarten readiness screening tool. We will put out a request for proposal for a statewide screening tool. That is a state law, and it's our efforts to be good stewards of our tax dollars to make sure that, while we are piloting the Ages and Stages questionnaires, we also need to see if there are other vendors or providers that could provide something similar or the same. So we will be going through a request for proposal process. This winter, we will be developing a training plan because our task so far is to have statewide data collection for kindergarten readiness in fall of 2017. So the items on the timeline that have asterisks are, this is what we're planning for now, but you know, things can change. Spring, summer, fall, we'll be implementing a training plan. That means getting everybody familiar with the tool and getting a timeline. Statewide data collection beginning in fall of 2017, and again fall of 2017, approximately 37,000 kindergarten children, their families, and teachers will collect information using the approved screening tool. So it's a very, very ambitious timeline, and we're working really hard to put it all in place. And when I say we, I mean our kindergarten readiness work group, these pilot sites, these teachers, these administrators that have been super flexible and very supportive of this assertive timeline. That being said, many of you may be involved with the Kansas Education System Accreditation trainings that are taking place, KESA, and there are some questions in the KESA process to districts about where they are regarding kindergarten readiness. I want to assure everyone that if your district has nothing to put on there regarding kindergarten readiness because there just isn't anything in place, that is completely okay. We are piloting a screener. There is no need for anyone to run out and buy something for kindergarten readiness because we are working on that. A lot of questions since that came up in the KESA conversations. I fielded a lot of questions from districts saying, do we need to get something? What do we need to get? It's just baseline data, and we do plan on having something in place for 2017. So rest assured that wherever you're beginning, you're in the right spot. So what's beyond this pilot? We're going to be surveying and meeting with a focus group of pilot participants to collect feedback and gather their recommendations. We will put out an RFP for a kindergarten readiness screening tool. We will work with the approved vendor on a training plan. We will work with KSDE on a funding plan and begin statewide data collection. So questions to address in the future, because when we talk about kindergarten readiness, putting a screener in place is just the very, very first step. There are a lot of considerations down the road, but first we have to have consistent statewide data, which Dr. Watson explains in the video I referenced earlier. So questions for the future: what does the data show regarding the readiness of children entering kindergarten? What are the implications for communities and schools? What are the implications for the distribution of resources? And what are the implications for needed professional learning? So when we have consistent data, then we can have data-driven conversations across the state, across districts, across communities. We can also talk about the distribution of resources, who needs extra support in kindergarten readiness, and where are our model sites? Where can we share information? And then the implications for professional learning. Clearly, if every child that's 5 has the right to go to kindergarten, we need to make sure that there is ample professional learning and support for kindergarten teachers in elementary schools so that they can be ready for the children that they receive. There was a time 20, 30 years ago when we could say we could give children the gift of time and let them have another year to mature. But research over the last 15 years has proven that children that do not go to kindergarten on time are more likely to drop out of high school, are more likely to have problems with the law. They're more likely to not succeed in anything beyond high school. The research the last 15 years says that there is no such thing as the gift of time. If they're 5, we need to take them and we need to be ready for them. Of course, parents always have the right to make a different decision, but that decision should not be made based off of what we find in a screener. We need to be ready for all children. So if you have any questions about kindergarten readiness or about early childhood support in Kansas, I encourage you to contact me. My email is here, tmitchell@ksde.org. I'm happy to talk with you. I'm happy to email you. Kindergarten readiness is something that we're really, really passionate and excited about. And we have a lot of good things already in place. We just need to expand our efforts and expand our conversations. Any questions, again, contact me. Thank you and have a great day.